Linda McAvan, Labour MEP for Yorkshire and the Humber. You're in charge of this legislation that's coming through the European Parliament. A lot of voices on both sides. Why do you want to see e-cigarettes regulated as a medical product?
Well, firstly, they have to have some kind of regulation, and even the companies themselves will recognise that. At the moment, these products are on the market. The British government did an investigation through the Medical Regulatory Agency, and they found that there were problems with lots of the products they tested. So there's a general agreement they should be regulated. The question is then, how should they be regulated? And we think about other products to help people quit smoking. They're regulated by medicine, not like a medicine to treat a drug, but a light touch medicine regime, and that's what we're proposing.
And let's be clear about what kind of impact, if this goes through as it may be voted on next week, let's be clear on what the impact would be. Would this mean, for example, that you would only be able to get hold of e-cigarettes by getting a prescription from your doctor? That's one of the perhaps myths that some people are suggesting.
No, not at all. In the UK you can buy medicines anywhere. You can buy them in garages, you can buy them in supermarkets. So in the UK, in terms of where you can buy the products, not very much would change. What would change, however, is the products would be cheaper because a medical product has less VAT on it. That's one thing. And secondly, very importantly, if you were a heavy smoker, I think e-cigarettes could help people who do smoke quit. I've met people, I know that's evidence. If they're regulated if they're a medicine product, they could be actually prescribed to people to help them quit. So there'll be benefits as well. And it's certainly not true, as I've had lots of letters, that we're trying to ban e-cigarettes. That is not the case at all.
And about the regulation, you say that it could lead, in fact, to lower costs. That's very interesting because people on the other side of the coin are saying that it could increase costs. They say that every single variety of e-cigarettes would have to be registered. That would be very, very costly, and it would see e-cigarettes become much more expensive.
Well, that's not what the UK government's saying. The UK government, the Conservative Liberal coalition government, they're very clearly in favour of regulating the medicines. And it'd be the UK Regulatory Authority which would do that. And they've looked into this. They had a 3-year study on this. And their conclusion, and the conclusion of everybody else, top doctors in the UK, everybody who works in helping people quit smoking, is that this is the best path to make sure the products are safe, that we know what's in them, and that they really help people quit. Because at the moment, you're relying on what's on the packaging label, but it's not been tested. So you as a smoker want to reduce your smoking. You want to know how much nicotine you're getting. You rely on having proper labelling. That's not happening at the moment. So every expert I've met wants this to happen. And it's only the e-cigarette companies who don't. They want to make money. Of course, they don't want to pay for regulatory procedures. They want to make profits. That's normal. But I'm a legislator and we can't just listen to the industry side.
E-cigarette users that are concerned about this regulation say that it could cost lives because they believe that e-cigarettes will be harder to get hold of as a result of this legislation if it goes through.
Well, I don't see any evidence for that. I mean, certainly there are some countries where medicines are only available in pharmacies, but that's national legislation and the governments of those countries could change that. In the UK, that's not the case. You can buy medicines anywhere. E-cigarettes will be available as they are now, and it's simply not true.
Is there a risk that if this regulation goes through that users could instead turn to places like China and start buying unregulated products from outside the European Union?
Well, nearly all e-cigarettes are actually made in China at the moment. They're imported into the UK and the companies are mainly importers of e-cigarettes. So we don't have manufacturers, and that's one of the issues. We have to be sure about the safe manufacturing of these products. And there are some e-cigarette companies who actually want a regulatory framework because they're making investments and they don't want sort of cowboy products on the market. So if we want these products to help people reduce their smoking, I think we have to know they're safe, that people know what's in them, and that they work. And I don't think they should be placed on the market like a ballpoint pen's placed on the market. These are things that people are inhaling. And we also have a new phenomenon as well, which is about could they become a new gateway product for young people? Because there's some very advertising of them to young people, and I know that there have been reports in the media of schools having problems with these cigarettes because at the moment in Britain there's no legislation, so anybody can buy them. There's no age limits on who can buy them and who can they be marketed to, so there are lots of issues to resolve.
Is there a risk that more regulation could see people that are using e-cigarettes at the moment going back to using tobacco, going back to becoming tobacco smokers, presumably that would be the opposite to what you want to achieve. Isn't that a risk?
Well, we have no evidence of that. At the moment, the problem is we have no evidence at the moment of what the benefits are of e-cigarettes. We don't really know whether e-cigarettes are helping people to quit. We have anecdotal evidence, we don't have any real evidence. We don't know whether they just help smokers stay smokers, because some people use them to smoke on the train or on the plane or in the pub, and then they go back and smoke. So we have evidence of dual use. So instead of people quitting smoking, some people are staying smokers because of e-cigarettes. Some people are helping them reduce. So a lot of work needs to be done, and the British medical regulators are going to do that work. They want to have a proper look at this. They don't want it just to be a free-for-all. They want to look at it, they want to monitor it, and they want to make the best decisions in people's interests.
So let's be clear, what will the impact of this be? And what difference will we see if this goes through as you'd like it to, as e-cigarettes classed as medical products?
Well, tomorrow nothing, because if we agree the law this year, they're going to have nearly 4 years, the e-cigarette companies, to comply with the new law, so their products remain on the market. They're going to have to adapt over time, but they get 4 years. The British regulator has made it clear that they will make a simple registration process. There won't be any clinical trials because we know what nicotine does. And so people who use these cigarettes will not see a big change tomorrow. The companies themselves will have to follow the legislation, but they'll have a long transitional period before they have to comply.
2 final questions. One, what would happen, in your view, if you don't win your vote, if MEPs don't agree to class this as a medical product?
Well, MEPs are only one part of the legislative process in Europe. Lawmaking is done not just by us, but by the governments of Europe. Every single government in Europe believes that e-cigarettes should be classified as medicines. Every single government in Europe. So the MEPs, if we vote the other way, we have to find an agreement with the governments, and given that its regulatory systems happen at national level, we'd have to have a lot of persuasion of governments to change their minds, because any law has to be agreed by both sides.
And just finally, there has been some reports about e-cigarette companies sponsoring football grounds, and even in the case of Derby County, reports that samples of e-cigarettes are being handed out on match days. What do you make of that? Is that something you'd be concerned about?
Well, responsible e-cigarette companies tell me that they want their products only to be used by smokers to help them reduce their smoking. I don't want to see products given out to young people who could become nicotine addicts. And everybody I've spoken to who's an e-cigarette user wouldn't want their children to just start using e-cigarettes because it's cool. So I don't think it's a very responsible thing to be giving them out outside football grounds any more than outside schools. I think they should, if the industry wants to have a future, I think it has to behave in a responsible manner. And if it doesn't behave in a responsible manner, it will get more and more regulation. At the moment, like I said, we have no regulation for these products. They're a new product, and every doctor I've spoken to, every expert, every government official, they want some kind of regulatory framework, and that's what I support.